In this episode, I chat with Beatrice Martinez from Vail, Colorado, who shares how she leverages AI for financial insights and marketing tailored to her bilingual clients. From her transition into real estate to advice on staying authentic, Beatrice's story is packed with inspiration and practical tips for agents at any stage. Tune in. Are you a real estate agent eager to unlock the power of AI to boost your productivity and scale your business? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Real Estate AI Flash, the weekly podcast that takes AI from a buzzword to a business tool, making it approachable and actionable for agents like you. I'm your host, Rajiv Sajja, and each week I interview agents from across the country who are using AI to transform their careers. Join us on this journey to become an AI skilled agent and take your real estate career to the next level. Now let's get to this episode. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. Today is going to be a good one because we have Beatrice Martinez. I think she resides in San Juan, Puerto Rico, but her business is in Vail. She's studied in Miami. We got a good one for you because she's working international buyers and sellers and how she's leveraging AI. And welcome to the show, Beatrice.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you for having me here. And yes, I have a very interesting way of working. So I definitely use, Zoom, American Airlines, AI to do all of my work. But I do live, back and forth between Miami, Puerto Rico, and Vail, Colorado.
That's great.
That's one interesting, tidbit for you.
For sure. And I'd love for you to share with our listeners about your journey to get to this point, your backstory, what attracted you to real estate. And I know you have a bachelor's in communication. Is it from Syracuse?
It's BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, but yeah. And if you want to, I'll give you my background, which is interesting. Needless to say, I have a BFA from Syracuse University. I grew up in Puerto Rico. I left to Syracuse when I was 17, and I studied architecture, and then I switched over to communications design because I didn't realize how much math I needed to study architecture. And that, we'll go back into AI and why it helps me so much because of this, this whole thing about math. Then I graduated, I moved to Miami in 93, and I started working with with a U.S. Hispanic advertising agency as a creative. I did that for a couple of years. Then I moved into the internet industry. I started working marketing and sales for internet companies. I worked for the largest newspaper in Puerto Rico when they launched their first online newspaper, nd.com, El Nuevo Día. Then I moved to Star Media Network, which was the first Latin American internet company to go public in the NASDAQ. And then after that, for 10 years, I did the whole internet industry thing. I was in my 20s, traveling all over Latin America. That's when I really learned about Latin America. I worked for a Brazilian internet company, Universo Online, for 2 years. And that's actually when I started my MBA at the same time. I did my MBA at the University of Miami on international business. And it was throughout my time when I was traveling to Brazil during the week to study and then doing my MBA over the weekend. I was already in my late 20s and I realized, gosh, I need to start settling down and maybe do something that is, less stressful because I love stress. I thrive on it. But something that's going to help me settle down a little bit. So my parents are Cuban. They left Cuba when they were in their 60s. And my father is, he's still alive and he's still a real estate developer. He's retired, but I grew up with real estate in my family. He worked a lot in, from Venezuela. His company has developments both in Miami and in Orlando. And my mom's an interior designer with my sisters. We're all entrepreneurs. And they all work with many developers. So I said, what the hell? Let me try it. I love sales. I graduated in 2002 from my MBA, and I did a huge pivot. I got my real estate license. I started doing it, and I absolutely loved it. And I've been doing that ever since.
Nice. And you're with Slifer Frampton?
And with Slifer Smith and Frampton, it's the even though only basically in Colorado, it's the largest real estate firm in Colorado, and we're based in ski communities, a ski
Oh, yeah.
resort real estate company. It was founded by one of the founders, Rod Slifer. Rest in peace. He was one of the Vail, Colorado founders, and you can find their company in all of the major ski resorts of Colorado: Vail, Aspen, Snowmass, Breckenridge, Keystone. It's Colorado communities, it's Colorado based. And I've been working with them since 2011. I started with them to launch a Latin America division. It's been a great partnership, ever since, with my knowledge of, Latin America, traveling to Mexico for business, traveling to working in Brazil for 2 years. It has been a match made in heaven. It has really worked great for us.
That's great. And obviously, we're going to get into a little bit about the whale market and Hispanics and things
Yes.
that you're doing and leveraging technology like AI.
Yes.
And so you also host your own podcast, Conquering Whale, by the
Yes.
way. And if you're
Yes.
a Hispanic listener to our show and you're bilingual, you should check out Beatrice's Conquering Whale podcast. We'll put it in the
Yes.
show notes. We'll put it in the show
Yes.
notes.
Thanks.
So my first question to you, now that we have your backstory, is what was your first? After all, this is an AI podcast.
Yeah.
So what was your first aha moment with AI?
Well, it goes back to the fact that I am super creative. I'm a great salesperson. I'm a failed mathematician. And to give you perspective, in order to start my MBA at I had to start 3 weeks before to take a calculus class with the undergraduates. So my first aha moment was when I realized I could, because I have an MBA, I know what I want. So I know the terms, I know the information that I want figured out. So and for all my clients, I have to create pro formas. I love doing that. It's vacation rental pro forma type financial analysis. And my aha moment was when I uploaded I had a formula on Excel sheet. I saved it as a JPEG or a PDF. I uploaded it into Chat GPT and I just started asking questions. What if I do this? What if I do that? Can you come up with, a cap rate for this specific vacation rental? And of course, in the beginning, I couldn't believe it. I was like, it started, interacting. I started interacting with the Chat GPT. That was about a year and a half ago. And that was, in a nutshell, my aha moment. From there on, I think it was around the same time I started searching for podcasts such as yours, about AI and how to utilize this tool, specifically for realtors. And I just started playing with it, and from there I moved into, social media and contracts and buyer's guides, which is something that I'm doing now. We've discussed about it, the custom, Chat GPT, and what is a custom Chat GPT. And I started devouring all of your podcasts. I think you said maybe 45, 46 podcasts. I think in like 3-4 weeks, I listened to half of those. And it's been fascinating, a fascinating journey for me. It was a huge eye opener. I continue to work on those pro formas and I make them a little bit more complex. And it gives me the tools to talk to the more advanced investor. Not only, a customer or a client or a prospect buyer that wants to buy a second home, but it's helping me with the actual hedge funders, with the investors that are a lot of Mexican groups. Most of my clients are from Mexico, in Vail, create these hedge funds and these groups of people to invest in Vail. So
Yeah.
I have the tools and the capacity, because obviously I have the know-how of talking to them about complex investing formulas because of Chat GPT. I mean, not that I don't have the capacity to understand it, I do, but I can do it in a faster way, more productive way. And I've had great feedback from all of my, more advanced investors and clients because of the tools that I have found via Chat GPT.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I'm glad you dove into the areas that you're using regularly, proformas, buyer guides. We're going to get into a little bit of that. So
Yeah.
before pre-chat GPT, how
Yeah.
long did it take you to build a proforma, ballpark it, okay? And
Yeah.
post-chat GPT, how long does it take you to do one? Just, again, estimate.
Listen, I would say that, that a complex pro forma, it would take me 2 to 4 hours
Mm-hmm.
because, I'm a single mom. I would get interrupted a lot. And that's what happens when you're a single mom. So now with the custom chat GPT that I have, seconds. And the good thing is that I send it. So what I do is I create a screenshot. I send it to my client via WhatsApp. All of my clients, I mean, if they could sign e-contracts via WhatsApp, they would do it. The only time I use emails with them is when they have to sign an electronic contract. Otherwise, it's all about WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So I do it on my phone. I already have it on my phone, on my laptop, and on my desktop. And I just do a screenshot. I send it to them. And if they want additional um if they want to change the assumptions or they want to input additional data, I do it in seconds because I already know exactly what they and I can my response time to them is seconds. It doesn't matter if I'm in the car waiting for my kids to get out of school because I already have those custom GPTs and the chat GPT. I think the 4.0 mini
Yeah.
I have on my sometimes even the one on my iPhone works better than the one on my desktop.
Yeah,
So
for
it has
sure.
really,
So it's interesting. So few hours, 2 to 4 hours
yeah,
to few minutes, let's just say back and forth.
yeah.
I mean, how many performers do you do a month?
I would say about 40 to 50 pro
Hmm.
formas a month because Rajiv in Vail, because it's a resort,
Sure, vacation rentals,
resort,
yeah.
it's resort real estate. These are not primary homes. These are not even sometimes second homes. These are third, fourth, and fifth homes. And it doesn't matter how much they love Vail, even the one that only wants to buy because they want to bring their kids to Vail and create the memories and the legacy. They do want the bottom line and they do. My clients are very, they're all on business people.
Yeah,
And affluent folks are actually sometimes more careful with their investments and their money than anybody else.
yeah,
And they're more sophisticated.
yeah,
So I have to do pro formas in pretty much in every deal or every prospect buyer that I have.
definitely. What I love about what you just shared was you do it, let's just say 40 performers a month, give or take. And
Yeah.
then let's just say each of them takes 3 hours. Let's average 2 to 4. That's 120 hours a month
Yeah.
pre
Yeah.
chat GPT. And post chat GPT, it's a couple of hours.
A couple of hours.
Right. And
A
so that,
couple of
and
hours.
then the biggest thing that I've always believed that you embrace transformative technology like AI is because it frees up the time. That 100-hour block that you just freed up, now you can spend time as a single mom with your kids, having better or scale your business or a combination thereof. And I've always believed AI is your affordable leverage only if you know how to use it effectively. And you've demonstrated that to the Performer Experiment. Great work, by the way.
And you mentioned something very interesting is I've always spent time with my kids. I couldn't scale. I couldn't figure out a way to scale my business.
100%.
And that's exactly, Rajiv, what I have been able to do, scale my business. I'm now really, that's why I was able to start my podcast. I've had an idea and a vision for a podcast for years, and I couldn't find the time to do it. Of course, I really found a great producer as well that helps me a lot. Um, Actually, a shout out to him, Jeronimo Quintero from RSS Mexico. But 100%, and not only on the pro formas, on the other things that I'm using AI for, including my podcast for the scripts for my
Oh,
podcast.
yeah, definitely. I mean, like just you and I host a podcast. We use a
Yeah.
plethora of AI tools to make it so efficient that even the platform we're recording on, Riverside, has AI built in,
Yes.
clips, all of that. So let's get to your home
Yeah.
buyer's guide, which I love the
Yes.
concept of what you did with it. especially addressing the bilingual nature of your clientele. So talk us through what you did there with AI.
So it's funny because you and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and finally I finished it this morning. It's funny because all of my marketing, Rajiv, is in Spanish. All
Yeah.
my social media, all of my marketing. I am truly bilingual, so a lot of the times I think in English, and with Chat GPT, I prompt everything in English. But at the very end, and now he knows, or she knows, I don't know, it knows, that I am Beatrice Martinez, that I work in Vail, but all of my clients are Spanish speakers. So at the end, I always remind ChatGPT, please, all of this, remember, has to be in Spanish. I mean, not the pro forma, because the numbers are numbers, but with the podcast and the social media and the reels, I prompt, Chat GPT. And that's going back to the custom GPT and the buyer's guide. That's what I did this morning. I finally sat down and I said, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to leave my laptop until I do. And I prompted it all in English. This is what I do. I know all the questions that they ask me by heart. These are all the questions, yada, yada, yada. And I want all the answers to be in Spanish. When I finish, I think I prompted it like maybe 10 or 15 questions. Oh, and I tell ChatGPT, please use a neutral Spanish. Because in the beginning, I would prompt ChatGPT. Most of my clients are Mexican, and then it started using a language that it was too informal. Then I decided, and I realized after a lot of examples, and I realized that I had to prompt it, use a neutral Spanish. And then I uploaded my photograph into the Chat GPT. I had an idea of what title I wanted to give the custom GPT. And but I prompted it, can you give me more ideas? And I'm very specific when I prompted. I learned that you have to be very demanding and very specific. I always say thank you, and my 16-year-old daughter always makes fun of me. She's like, Mom, please. I'm like, please and thank you. And it actually helped me come up with the name. It's called Descubre Vail. But then I have a sub headline that says Guía para el Comprador Internacional para el Mercado de Vail en Colorado. I even added prompts. One of the things that I would like to do, it's customize this, Guía Inmobiliaria, this buyer's guide, because I want to be able to give them my own contacts in Vail. Which bank I'm using, which everybody that speaks Spanish. So the banker that I use in Vail that speaks Spanish, the CPA, the attorney. So at the very end, I started adding, I went back with more ideas. And that's a great thing. Once you start interacting with Chat GPT, you come up with more and more ideas. And then I customized it a little bit. I added an option for them to contact me via Calendly so that I can give them a 15-minute free consultation about Vail and how to invest in Vail as an international buyer. I also prompted it to ask about my podcast so I can direct them into my Spotify link. And then the other one, I think it was my WhatsApp. But I cannot wait to go back and continue.
And that's the beauty of custom GPTs, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Most people are looking for perfection. You should get it done and make it perfect over time, right? So great examples, Beatrice. And I think the one thing that a lot of listeners that to our podcast listen, and our goal of the podcast is obviously to give actionable intel that they can go apply and not overwhelm them.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something early that I want to call out, which is you just sat down and worked on it.
Yes.
Because you can listen to as many podcasts as you want, but you got to have your own aha moments that make you go on your journey to becoming an AI skilled agent. The other comment that you made was it gives you stuff back that sometimes people can be easily impressed with AI's responses. I would suggest don't be easily impressed. Keep a very high standard.
Yes.
That's what being generic to genius as an AI user.
Okay.
And if you start to push it hard to generate better content, it will do it. And the analogy I give a lot of agents is they're like the golden retriever that you grew up with, dog. You had a dog. I don't know if you had a dog, but I grew up with a dog. dogs and cats are designed to please people.
Yeah.
AI is the same way. Okay. But if you don't push AI to become better, you will get the output and you'll be thrilled. But someone like you, Beatrice, can get more out of AI because you're pushing it for more better clarity and content, you know?
And Rajiv, I don't know how. I think you're more techie than I am. I just started with this. And I am a frustrated, singer and a frustrated computer, coder. And we'll get into that on a personal level later on. But I don't know how now that I'm using the chat, the voice, I don't know exactly how you call it, but
Advanced voice mode, AVM.
Exactly. On my iPhone today, he called me Bea by my nickname. And I'm like, what? What? So I don't know when ChatGPT learned that was my nickname. So now it's becoming more personal. And now that I'm talking to it, and now it is calling me by my nickname. So now it's becoming more of a personal thing, which is great.
No. And for those of you that are listening, advanced voice mode, not to be confused with automated valuation models in the real estate industry, was released into the paid subscribers of ChatGPT. And it is truly a game changer because we talk faster than we can type. And especially when you're on the go, I've asked it questions and it can respond back in different languages, different dialect, give you conversations and all of that stuff. So check out AVM, Advanced Voice Mode. Just click the voice icon on the bottom right of your ChatGPT app. It's only available on your app. And you need to be a paid or plus subscriber and only available in the US as of this recording. So I'm glad you brought that up, Beatrice. So to wind down our podcast, I always ask my listeners for 2 questions, right? You've been in the business 20 years now?
20 years, yeah.
20 years, right? So if you had to look back and advise the younger Beatrice, if you were starting business today in real estate, what is the one piece of advice that you would tell your younger self that agents can appreciate and potentially act on?
Gosh, I thought about this and honestly, Rajiv, I think the main thing is don't worry about what people think about you and don't worry about making mistakes. God knows I made a lot of mistakes in my 20s, meaning, business mistakes. But everything has brought me to where I am today, which I'm very happy where I am. But even today with the technology that we have, I have to remind myself now that I'm getting more into the podcasting and social media is don't worry about what people think about you. If you know you're being your authentic self and you have high morals, you have good ethics, you come from a good background and you're doing well, do it. And don't worry so much about just comments, etc. Be true to yourself and the rest will take care of itself.
Great piece of advice. And I was going to ask you this earlier before we get to the final question. What are your top AI tools that you use weekly, like regularly, daily, weekly, whatever the cadence is?
I think, I'm seeing a lot of AI tools coming into our everyday lives, right? I mean, ChatGPT Plus, I bought it the first day I knew about but I found out about ChatGPT through my friend Frank Rivera. I have to give him a shout out as well. But every day I use Canva. Every day I use CapCut. I'm now starting to use I don't know if you say big BU or big
View,
and I've realized, and of course, Perplexity, because you got me into it. Now I only use Perplexity. And all of those apps, when I started them, I wouldn't use like Magic Studio and Canva that much. But now I'm starting to use the AI filters or the AI plugins that are within the apps that I'm using every day. So I have to say that I do use AI every day.
And AI is your affordable leverage. I believe it's going to create a separation season from people that are not using AI to basic AI use to skilled AI use. And Beatrice is well on her way to be an AI skilled agent. Great to have you on, but let's finish with the final question.
Thank you so much.
Final question is, what is the one book, or podcast? Because when I first asked the speakers these questions, some speakers said, "Oh, I listen more than I read." So I made it book or podcast. That has impacted you, and you would recommend it to other agents.
So I had the same answer. I buy all these books, and because I used to read a lot, I don't read that much anymore. And I'm not doing it because you invited me to be on this podcast. But the only, I have recommended your podcast to so many agents today. And maybe if you would have asked me a year ago, my response would be different. But right now, your podcast truly has changed the way I do business. And because I have to, respond as to, what it's helping me right now, not a year ago or 5 years ago, I have to say that your podcast has changed the course of my business, therefore, my life. So, and I'm not saying this because I'm a guest in your podcast. So I truly appreciate your work, and I can't wait to be in your academy if you end up doing that as well.
Yes, working on it, Beatrice, and sign up for the wait list that's on the show notes link. And my goal is to get it up and running by January 1. So it is the purpose of our podcast is to make AI approachable and actionable for all real estate agents across the country and the world. And Beatrice, you've added tremendous value. And if you are an agent or anyone listening to this podcast and you need to check out Beatrice's social media, follow her on Instagram. She is a great follow. And if you're Hispanic, you should listen to Conquering Vail podcast from Beatrice.
Yes.
And now I know someone in San Juan, Puerto Rico, someone that has connections in Miami, and of course, Vail, Colorado. Beatrice, it was great having you on the show. We'll be in touch.
Thank you for having me.
You made it to the end. Nice. My goal with this podcast is to elevate your AI skills every week. If you found value in the show, your goal is to follow, share with a fellow agent, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and leave us a review, as it helps us reach more agents like you.